Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we are exploring one of the most important and dangerous environmental stories of our time. This is the story of a country whose geography is changing in front of our eyes, not because of earthquakes or volcanoes, but because water is slowly disappearing. When water vanishes, maps lose meaning, borders of rivers shift, lakes turn into deserts, and entire regions begin to fail. Iran is now living through this transformation, and the geography of disaster is being written in dried riverbeds, cracked soil, and sinking cities. For thousands of years, Iran's landscape was shaped by a delicate balance between mountains, rivers, deserts, and underground aquifers. Snow fell on the Zagros and Alborz mountains, feeding rivers and underground channels that carried life into plains and valleys. Ancient Iranian civilizations learned how to survive in dry conditions using systems like qanats, which transported water through underground tunnels. These systems worked because the environment was respected and water was treated as a resource that could not be wasted. That old balance no longer exists. The geography of Iran is now marked by shrinking water bodies. Lake Urmia, once a massive inland sea, has been reduced to a fraction of its former size. What was once a blue expanse is now mostly a white salt field, cracked and lifeless. As the water vanished, the salt remained, and now toxic salt dust rises into the air and spreads over nearby cities and farmland. The land around the lake, once fertile, is now becoming uninhabitable. This single lake shows how a change in water can rewrite the destiny of an entire region. Rivers that once carved through valleys are now fading lines in the landscape. The Zayende Rud in Isfahan, once the heart of the region, now runs dry for large parts of the year. Its stone bridges stand over empty, dusty channels. The Karan River, another major water source, has been heavily dammed, diverted, and polluted. With less surface water, pressure on groundwater has increased, wells have multiplied, pumps run day and night. The underground reservoirs, formed over thousands of years, are being emptied in a matter of decades. As groundwater disappears, the earth itself begins to change shape. Land subsidence is becoming a defining feature of Iran's new geography. In many regions, the land is sinking by several centimeters each year. Roads crack. Buildings develop dangerous fractures. Railways twist. Pipelines break. This process cannot be undone. Even if rain returns or rivers are restored, the compacted soil will never expand again. This means parts of Iran are literally collapsing, not from war or disaster overnight, but from slow, silent dehydration. The agricultural map of Iran is also being rewritten. Regions that were once considered breadbaskets are becoming barren. Fields that once grew wheat, rice, and fruits are turning into dust. Farmers who relied on shallow wells now drill deeper and deeper, often reaching salty or contaminated water. Irrigation canals run empty. Crops fail again and again. As land loses productivity, farmers abandon their homes. Villages shrink, some disappear completely. What was once green on the map now turns brown. Urban geography is shifting as well. Cities in drier regions are losing population, while others are growing rapidly due to migration. People leave rural areas in search of water, work, and stability. This movement of people changes the shape of cities, the distribution of housing, and the pressure on services. Informal settlements grow on the edges of major cities. Water infrastructure struggles to handle the new demand. Sanitation systems fail under pressure. The map of Iran's population is slowly being redrawn by the absence of water. Climate change acts as a powerful force accelerating all of this. Iran's climate is becoming hotter and drier. Heat waves last longer. Rainfall becomes more irregular. Snowfall in mountain regions decreases. This affects not only rivers and lakes, but also soil moisture and vegetation. Wild plants and forests weaken, making landscapes more vulnerable to fires and erosion. Without water, the geography becomes more fragile, and every environmental system begins to fail under stress. Dust storms have become a new feature of Iran's landscape. As lakes and wetlands dry, their exposed beds turn into massive dust sources. Winds lift fine particles of salt and soil into the air, carrying them across cities and farmlands. These storms change visibility, damage crops, and harm human health. They also reshape the physical surface of the land by stripping away fertile topsoil. Over time, this creates a more desert-like geography, even in places that were not deserts before. Economically, the geography of disaster creates invisible borders. Regions with water maintain some level of stability, while those without it face collapse. Investment flows away from dry areas. Factories relocate. Farms shut down. Infrastructure deteriorates. This separation creates inequality between regions. Some parts of the country become hubs of pressure and poverty, while others become overcrowded centers of survival. This uneven landscape is built not by politics, but by water. Government decisions have played a critical role in reshaping this geography. Large dams were constructed to control rivers, generate power, and store water. While they solved short-term problems, many dams disrupted natural water flow, cutting off wetlands and downstream regions. Water was redirected to support certain cities or industries, often at the cost of rural communities. These choices physically altered the map of water availability, turning some regions dry and others artificially supported. Despite the darkness of this transformation, there are signs of resistance and adaptation. Some communities are switching to less water-intensive crops. Modern irrigation methods are slowly being introduced. Researchers and environmentalists are working to restore wetlands and stabilize lake beds. Cities are investing in recycling wastewater. These efforts are small compared to the scale of the problem, but they are important. They represent the idea that geography does not only change through destruction, but also through human response. The concept of vanishing water is not only about physical loss, it is about cultural loss too. Rivers and lakes are part of memory, poetry, identity, and tradition. When they disappear, something deeper than water is lost. Children grow up not knowing what a full river looks like. Stories about fishing or swimming become ancient history. Landscapes that shaped songs and literature turn into wastelands. Geography is not only land, it is also the emotional map of a nation. Health impacts follow the changing geography closely. Dust storms increase asthma and respiratory illnesses. Polluted remaining water spreads disease. Heat waves increase dehydration and heat-related deaths. Rural hospitals struggle to operate without stable water supplies. As the land becomes drier, life becomes more dangerous. The body itself becomes a witness to the geography of disaster. The world is watching similar patterns in other places. From shrinking lakes in Central Asia to drought-stricken regions in Africa and North America, the geography of disaster is expanding. Iran is one of the clearest examples because of the speed of change and the visibility of the damage. The world can learn from this. Geographical collapse is not a distant threat. It is happening now, and it starts with water. The future map of Iran depends on choices being made today. If water use is reduced, if ecosystems are restored, If technology is embraced, and if climate realities are faced honestly, some stability may return. If not, the desert will continue to expand and the geography of disaster will become permanent. The fate of rivers, lakes, cities, and fields is tied to decisions that cannot be delayed forever. Water is not just a resource on a map. It is the line between life and collapse. When it vanishes, everything else follows. Iran is now standing at a point where the land itself is changing character. What was once fertile becomes hostile. What was once alive becomes silent. Geography is becoming destiny. This story is not only about Iran, but about the fragile relationship between humans and nature. When we take more than the earth can give, the earth reshapes itself in response. Mountains still stand, deserts still expand, and rivers still try to flow, but without water, even the strongest systems fail. Thank you for staying here and exploring this important story. Awareness is the first form of protection. When we understand the geography of disaster, we better understand how to prevent it. Stay informed, stay thoughtful, and I'll see you in the next video.